From the advertising media capital of the world, New Milford, Connecticut, wherever that is. This is Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, a bi-weekly-ish podcast about all things automotive marketing. Now, here's your host, Matt Wilson.
Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson, presented by Silverback Advertising, online at silverbackadvertising.com. Oh, check out my new Silverback swag. Is it swag or swag? I think it's swag. Check it out. Okay, do you take pride in where you work, right? Is the place you work a nice looking place? Do you have pride in where you work? I grew up, I shouldn't say grew up, but my early career was spent in radio, which for those of you not in radio, you probably don't understand that a lot of radio stations are just hellholes. Not hellholes. They're just terrible, old, decrepit, rundown places in some situations. In a lot of situations, right? So I worked at an oldie station in like 1997, and the console, like the board, like a mixing board that controls all the stuff that you do, was so old and decrepit that when I would hit the microphone off button too hard, the button would pop off and like fly on the ground, and I'd have to find it and then use my pinky to turn the microphone off, right? And it smelled. The building smelled. And then I was in an AM station once where I did a NASCAR show, and there was like fizz in the background, and the door wasn't soundproof, so when the cleaning guy was vacuuming, it would come over the air and you'd hear it on the air. All kinds of just like terrible looking, sounding, and smelling work areas, right? Radio is famous for being in old, low budget buildings. So then one day I go to do a live broadcast at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was a sports broadcast. I was on a couple of ESPN affiliates, and we were doing a NASCAR show, and we were doing it from their studio. They have radio studios in the racetrack. And we get there the night before the show, and it is the most beautiful studio I've ever seen. I about cried. Beautiful. State-of-the-art microphones and cough buttons. Like I have a cough button now. I can cough and you don't hear me. Cough buttons and lighting and copy holders and computer screens and TVs on the wall and a glass partition where the producer was. And it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, I've arrived. I'm at this beautiful radio station. And then you go back home to your home studio and it's a piece of junk. And you're like, oh, it's just kind of like demoralizing, right? Well, I feel like that translates to all workplaces. Everyone wants to work in a nice place, right? And now there are a lot of car dealerships in America. I'm going the very long way around to bring this back to automotive, by the way. A lot of car dealerships in America that have seen better days. A lot of old buildings, family-built businesses, places that have been around a long time, but there are also a lot of new, shiny car dealership buildings. And the discussion today is, does it make a difference? Does it matter if you're in a brand new, shiny, bright, beautiful, well-branded building, or if you're in the old, rundown store that's been in town forever that looks the same as it did 20 years ago? And I think the obvious answer is yes, it matters. But why does it matter? And how can we show you proof that it matters? And for that, let's bring on somebody who has been living that life. His name is Matt Sneed. He's the Director of Marketing and Customer Experience at Power Ford. Hello, Matt. Thanks for joining me. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the invitation, Matt. Looking forward to it. And let's rock and roll.
Hey, thanks for sitting through my 4-minute setup story. That was a little long, I just realized. If I was a comedian, this would be the worst joke ever. They'd be like, where's the punchline? That was just a long story.
I love this story, and I'm glad you have a cough button now. I'm kind of the FOMO right now is saying I need to find mine. But
it's also good for when you're drinking water, too, because you can, without having the slosh around sound, you can put the cough button on. But it doesn't help you when you wear a super loud windbreaker like I'm wearing now. But it's poor planning on my part. So, obviously, the topic at hand, I thought was a great topic for you because I had connected with you on LinkedIn, and I know that your store, Power Ford, you went through a whole sort of redesign, redo, and as I saw you talking about that, I thought about the importance that has on not only the perception of customers and the customer experience, but internal morale for employees. So let's tell that story real quick here. Not real quick, but let's talk about what the kind of impetus was to redesign, rebrand the dealership, and then why did you guys do it, and how did you get started?
Definitely. So we'll talk about what we did, but also the why behind why we did. So the building that we're currently in was built in the late 80s. And so it had beautiful tan and teal tile. It was just, we're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so the Southwest. So it definitely had a Southwest feel to it. And so that was the dealership. It's a little bit different. It is not your typical Ford dealership with the silver facade. And so it's, 30 years old, 40 years old. And the outside was like that. So we had to maintain that and take care of it. But what we decided to do was completely reimagine the customer experience as well as the employee experience by redesigning the inside of the building. And so that was really what we did. And it took over the course of 12 months. So it wasn't a snap your fingers and it's done. But we've seen just when you preach an excellent ownership experience, that's our mission, is to provide an excellent ownership experience while setting an example of excellence for others. And so if we're preaching that to our team and they don't have an excellent environment, so, we're a big believer in you look good, you feel good, you play good. And in this situation, play is work. And so it's been a lot of fun to be a part of. And, it's been fun.
I think of when I used to be at a store, I would have a vendor come in to see me, and they would come in and they'd go, wow, this is a really nice dealership. And I have a really good, there's a really good friendly vibe here at the store. And, I work there every day. So I would be like, oh, okay, cool. But then I would visit other stores in my group and spend a little time sitting in the showroom. And I would go, oh, I see what so-and-so was saying back at that store. Because if the place wasn't like brand new, it was a 10-year-old, this is probably 2 years ago, it was a 10-year-old building. So it was newish, but not super new. But we kept it clean. We kept it, classy looking. We kept it well lit. We kept it updated, had it painted the interior every year, took care of the floors, had the inventory looking good. And it has this effect on you and of people walking in that go, oh, this is a nice place, as opposed to walking in somewhere and being like, ugh. When was the last time they cleaned this floor,
100%. And so, it is an investment to do the remodel and whatnot. But, when you go to, I'll pick on Outback, but when you go to an Outback steakhouse and you go to a Ruth's Chris, you expect to pay more at a Ruth's Chris because for a lot of reasons, but the environment that you're sitting in is nicer. It's better. The waiter will greet differently than if you were in an Outback steakhouse. And so, although we're a Ford dealership, we want to be the best Ford dealership in the country. And so when we do this remodel, does the person walk in and go, wow, this is nice, compared to the crosstown rival that didn't take care of it, still has the tan and teal tile in it, and those type of things. So it really made a difference. Can you get $200 more per car in gross on all those type of things, being in a better environment? We believe that you can. And then translating that back to the employee experience, we're firm believers. If you take care of your employees, they take care of your customers, and ultimately that takes care of your business. And so we wanted to completely reimagine what it looks like to be a salesperson at Power Ford. So we took out all the cubicles, and basically the cubicles were a phone, an old computer, and then basically a junk drawer for the salesperson. And so it was like, no, let's get this out. So we completely demolished all of the cubicles and made it more, it's very open and transparent. We have a ping pong table in there, a foosball. We have lockers for all of the salespeople for privacy purposes. And then we have computer bars all across the room, TVs. And so the thought behind that is, one, it creates a space of community, but then also when we all know the best time to sell a car is right after you've sold the previous one. So to go in there and get a 30-second ping pong game in, or a 5-minute ping pong game in, to kind of reset, that was the environment that we wanted to create. And I will say the trophy on the wall for it is being a top workplace for the past 2 years. And so that's kind of neat to be the only automotive company represented. And when you're up there with T-Mobile, AT&T, the healthcare system and things like that. So it really makes a difference for the customers, but also the employees.
So, it feels good for your employees and the sales team and everyone who comes to work every day. How quickly did you realize that, the salespeople feeling like that translated to them, I don't know what the word deflecting is, but projecting that on the customers?
So what we've seen, it's all goes back to a larger vision of the culture, which our general manager sets. But, we have a vision for taking care of people. We're in the people business, and it's not all about selling cars. It's selling cars is the fuel that drives the engine to what you're really doing. And what we saw is, we take care of people, and that starts internally. So we have a vision for it. We take care of people. That is the first pillar that you have to have. And then it, go from the general manager to the GSM to the sales managers, ASMs to your salespeople. Like that is first and foremost. You have to have the servant leadership attitude across the whole dealership. And then when you create experiences for your employees, they know, I'm a firm believer in people, if they know how much you care about them, they'll run through walls for you. And so we put a huge emphasis on the employee experience. We're partners with the Albuquerque Isotopes, which is a AAA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. And one of the things that we did pre-COVID was we hosted a sales versus service softball game on the field at Isotopes Park. And so
that's awesome.
It was an amazing thing to experience for our employees and to watch them. We had all of their families out. We kind of opened up the concession stand and just said, everything is free. I'll never forget the one lot porter. He's got like 8 things of cotton candy. And I hear him say, "Can you believe it? All of it is free." Well, we know it's not free, but but just the experience of that and giving that to the employees, it does translate over to customers because they can see. You rarely see a person at Chick-fil-A be a jerk in the drive-thru. I don't think I've ever seen it. And same thing with Southwest Airlines, Apple. Those are all the staples of customer-centric companies, and it starts with the employees, and it's pretty neat.
I think I see the opposite of that a lot in automotive, right? I have great clients, and in my home store, at my last group, family-owned store, the culture and everything was great there. But there were lots of stores that were, I was involved with through the group that the culture was, instill fear from the top down, and that's high turnover, high employee unhappiness, poor customer reviews, which I hate to say this is probably more common, I would think, in our industry. But I don't know. I'm in the Northeast. It's hard to tell. We're all angry up here anyway, so maybe it's not like that. I'm just like that because I'm in Connecticut, New York. We're all angry and mad all the time.
I laugh at that but I do think it's true. I think, even when sales managers and people talk about who have been in the industry for 15 to 20 years and they say, well, it wasn't like that back in my day. And back in my day, it was like, get back on the lot and sell a car or get out of here. I just don't think that works anymore. And I know some people still do it, but for us, it's just, it didn't happen overnight, but I'll tell you, when you get people bought into a system, into a culture and a team, it really makes a world of difference, almost to the point of when someone who comes in that is was not raised in this, who is an old school car person, and they come in to sell cars, they don't last very long because they're like, wait a minute. When they do a favor, they're saying, hey, is that a split deal? And our team is like, no, it's not a split deal. It's yours, and I'll get you back next time. So it's just a difference between a team culture. But again, that starts from the top down. And it's a lot of organic grassroots, but the owner, general manager, they have to set the vision for saying, this is what we're going to do. And then you have to execute on it.
Did you do any marketing, messaging or anything around the updating, the transformation of the store that, helped get the word out? Or did you just kind of let it happen as people came in? Or did you use that as an opportunity to kind of message that out there?
That's a great question. Some people look at it, as a missed opportunity. We didn't really highlight it too much of saying a remodel sale or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe in that people are selfish in nature. I know that most people are. I am. I'm the first one to say, what's in it for me. And so I think the more that if we say, hey, it's a remodel sale or it's come look at our new showroom, all of that ad copy is saying me, 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 me. And ultimately, the customer does not care about us. They care about one person and they care about them. So the more that you can speak to the customer's language and say, this is all for you and different things like that. So we did highlight it, but not to the extent of what most automotive dealerships probably would highlight it, just because, I've been in the automotive business I would say a rookie. I've only been in it for 3.5 years, but when we first started this, it was a great rebranding, and before the remodel started, it was like a remodel of the brand to everything that you see. The second you pull on the lot, a customer does. It's like, what signs are they seeing? What message are they feeling? What music is playing in the showroom? All of those things go to create the environment. And so, some car dealerships say, well, we let the sales managers decide what music is being played. Well, if Van Halen is playing in the showroom, that doesn't really convey the same sense of message, or, rap music and things like that. So it all goes back to that experience that you create. And it's,
Side note, the music control would be in the room near my office when I was at a store, and we use Spotify a lot, and I put on what's that song, Happy, from
I know it
So I created a Spotify playlist with only that song in the playlist, and then I put it on loop, and I would see how long it would take. This would be early in the morning on like a Tuesday, 8:45. How long it would take a sales manager to call up there and be like, dude, what is going on with the music?
What's going on with the music? Totally.
And I probably got away with it for about a half hour, 45 minutes before someone was like, is this song playing still?
Still playing? I will tell you that one of the things about that, and this is mostly automotive marketing, so this is a little bit of marketing tip. This is a little bit just
mostly
a nugget of information. Mostly. I will say that if you're listening to this, an action item takeaway is look at the signs around the dealership. Most people, because we see them all the time, and so we don't think anything of it. But when we did a remodel, a rebrand, we see signs that we had that said, authorized personnel only, 3 exclamation points. Unauthorized personnel will be prosecuted. And you look at that, they'll go, well, great. How many people have you prosecuted? And the sign was in a white background in all caps, which is definitely the optimal way to read. And so it was just like funny, because it's like, how many people have been prosecuted? And it's like, well, 0. And so you can take that same message and turn it into a customer centric, where you say, for your safety, employees only beyond this point. It says the same thing, accomplishes the same goal, but it's all in the way that you say it, versus courtesy vehicle parking only versus reserved for courtesy valet. Small little shifts make a world of difference. And so that was what we did during our rebrand. And I would say that alone is just been the language that you say makes all the difference in the world, going back to that environment that you're creating.
But that's a copy thing. I think dealers don't think of that as I'm not picking on dealers, but that's a marketing person's thing. The copy and what the message conveys is a marketing thing. That's what we think about. That's not what a dealer either thinks and shouldn't have to think about. That's not their area of expertise.
No.
But to me, a perception of dealerships from some people is there's never any parking at a dealership. Before I was in automotive, every time you go to a dealership, I'd be like, oh my God, where am I going to park? When I remember going for an interview at the dealership and driving there and being like, there's no place to park. Like, where do I park around here? So to then have on top of that signage that's like, don't park here, it has a negative connotation.
And so, when you go buy a car as a consumer, you're thinking, wait a minute, they're going to stick me with something that I don't want. I'm going to pay too much for it. And then they have all those negative connotations. So literally, as soon as you drive on the lot, it's like those little signs, and like we're talking about, make all the difference in the world, because it just goes to, knocking down those walls and barriers. One of the things that we do that's pretty unique is we serve food to all of our customers. Again, this pre-COVID,
Right.
serve food to all of our customers on Saturdays and Sundays. And that is an expense, but we found that it is well worth it to do that because we're already feeding our employees. So to add an extra, head count of 30 to 50 is not that big of a deal money wise, but it just buys the salespeople and your team more time when you're saying, great. They say, so when you and your wife, Matt, are buying a car, you say, oh, we're a little hungry. We're going to go to Chick-fil-A and we'll be back just in a few minutes. Well, we all know they're not coming back. So when they say that, it's like, well, fantastic. We've got pulled pork sandwiches. Do you want barbecue or do you want something else? And it's just those little things. Again, go back to creating that environment for the customers, but also the employees. And it buys time. And so do you get 2 more car deals out of that on a Saturday? I think you do. Back to creating, you just feel better. Like you're talking about, because when you pull in, it's like, stay away, no parking. But the reality is just knock down those walls and barriers. And, you can do truck stop, like in hospitality, you can do truck stop coffee with the, powdered sugar, or you can have Starbucks coffee, which is not that much more expensive, but people recognize that the Starbucks coffee or that logo. And again, it knocks down those walls and barriers that most dealerships don't think about. And it does make a difference.
There's a difference between fresh food or fruit from the local community grocery store next door, or fresh donuts or something, and like pre-packaged plastic gas station Danishes.
Yeah,
There's
care
a
about
difference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's definitely. Or it's like when you see that and it says free, take one. Is it again subtle ad copy? Is it free or is it complimentary? Think about when you're traveling, it's free breakfast. You're like, it's probably not very good. But if it's like the Holiday Inn Express and it says, breakfast is complimentary, you're like, oh, what's for breakfast? So it's just mind shifts that truly people don't think about. But when you say it like that, you're just like, oh, wow, duh. But I think most people get so with the blinders and so consumed in, what do I need to do to sell 8 cars today? What do I need to do to sell 10 cars today or 20 cars today? And I think people forget sight of that. Because we're all, at the dealership level, everyone's busy, but you're not too busy for this. And I think it's just a matter of prioritizing.
Before we wrap up, let's go back and there's a tangent that I want to follow down a little bit here, and that was just talking about like the music. You were talking about the sales manager for whatever reason is the guy who controls the music, right? And at my store, when I was at, the sales manager, I could log in. It was like on a computer in the server room, could like log into that computer via like VPN and change it, or I could go in there because it was next door to my office. So we would fight over who, or they'd be like, we don't want to deal with it, you deal with it. Which got me to think, like, why does everything that nobody can figure out whose job it is to handle ends up being like a marketing thing? Like, who's going to handle that? Oh, we don't really know. Well, it should, and then just ends up on marketing's desk. Like, what kind of food are we going to have in the service drive on Saturdays? Or we're having trouble at the front desk. With either the front desk staffing or the greetings or the phone recording, the outgoing phone message. Like, those are marketing things. And I'm like, how does this end up in the marketing department's desk? Do you find that like marketing is the catch-all for like, what department handles this? Well, we don't know. So it's marketing's thing.
I will tell you. So when I got here, it was marketing and customer experience. And so that was the title. A month into the job, I'm saying something and our GM stops me and says, but isn't that customer experience? And so I was like, wow, I should have renegotiated because, customer experience, the customer touches everything. And so it's kind of like the overarching wide range, but you're so right. And a lot of things just to say, it's marketing, whatever. But, that's kind of funny that you mentioned that because it's so true. It really is. It's so true, but it's just more of like, great, let's take it. And again, it goes back to the experience. I like it because I'm a huge into customer service, but it never fails that it's like, this sign is, everything is marketing, everything is customer experience.
It is. Yeah. we would be, Nissan would do inspections of your buildings once a year. And if you got 100, you didn't have to do it the next year and blah, blah, blah. And like, we'd be out there, me and the fixed ops director would be like, okay, this parking sign is the wrong colors. It doesn't match the brand, recommendations and the font. But exactly, how can we change the wording? Is it going to be in a bucket filled with cement in the spot, or is it going to be in the ground in the mulch on the other side of the curb? Like all that stuff. And I'm out there and I'm meeting the landscaper at like 8:00 in the morning about the mulch. And I'm like, I'm not sure how I'm the guy out here. And I've never been hey, that's not my job guy. That's just not the kind of employee or work ethic that I have. But I'm like, why am I out here talking to the landscaper? Like, but then it's like, well, who really should be out here talking to the landscaper? I'm like, well, the owner shouldn't be doing it. And he's the owner. He's got things to worry about. I'm like, we don't have a facilities guy. But so it's really either me or the fixed ops guy. He's busy. All right, fine. I'll talk to the landscaping guy. But that's like what always happens with marketing. It's just the way it is.
It just happens that way. Like you said, just to a lack of staff or, who does that. But it's like, but to your point, you mentioned the work ethic type of thing. I truly, do believe that, you never get paid more than you do. If you never do more than you, sorry, I'm messing this up.
No, it's okay. You can try again. It's fine. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Try again. Yeah. If you never do more than you get paid, you'll never get paid more than you do. And that is like such a true statement. And so it's like the attitude of like what you're saying, the work ethic of saying, great, I'll meet with the landscaper. I'll do this, all those little things, because if it's you or the owner right there, think about it and say, his time is more valuable than mine. So yeah, you'll be rewarded for that. Like you said, but yeah, for the fourth time, never do.
Good job.
Yeah. Finally, it's
If I was in my office and I looked outside and I saw the owner like shoveling the walkway, I'd be like, hello, are you guys kidding me right now? Like you're sitting at your desk while the owner, his name's on the building and he's shoveling the walkway. Like maybe he's doing it because he wants to be busy and have something to do. But like, dude, get out there and get the shovel away from him. You shouldn't be out there shoveling the walkway.
100%. 100%. That's funny.
Listen, this has been a great discussion. I know we were going to also talk about Facebook. You guys really have embraced Facebook advertising in your store, but I feel like that's a whole nother discussion, a whole nother topic that I think we can record another episode on. So if you're willing to come back and do that, let's do an episode about that.
Absolutely. Facebook is a big part of our game plan. And so I'd love to talk more about that. And, you've got something coming up with Facebook with some 5-minute segments. Do you want to foreshadow that?
I do, yeah. So Bob Lanham, who a lot of us know is the director of automotive retail for Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And he's very involved with dealers and agencies. And he's been on the podcast before. And I recorded an episode with him where we broke down all the different ad types that are available out there for dealers into little 5-minute, easily digestible nuggets of information. So I'm going to put those out as little 5-minute episodes. And then at the end, I'll put the whole thing out, the whole discussion, because I was able to find time to make fun of Bob and his car and joke around with him a little bit. So we'll put that out separately. But I think that there's a million options out there for dealers of what's going on Facebook. And without getting into, the details of it, you and I can talk about your dealership's power forward strategy, as opposed to, I think the common strategy is like, the and also Facebook. Oh, and also here's the Facebook budget, as having it be the core of your media plan. So let's do an episode on that. We'll put a pin in this topic. It's been great talking to you. We had a great discussion before we recorded about us both doing public address things for like minor league sports teams, college sports teams, which is also a blast. And you mentioned the isotopes before. I love minor league. I used to collect minor league baseball hats, like AAA baseball hats. We had we used to have the Rock Cats. Oh no, there was the Portland Sea Dogs was a popular AAA team for a while, right? And I think my mom got my parents were on vacation once and they came home with, I think it's like the sea lion with the baseball bat in its mouth. I was like, my God, these teams have the best logos. So I was collecting AAA baseball hats for a while, and the isotopes have a logo that's kind of like the Big Bang Theory, right? It's got like, it's like spacey. So you mentioned isotopes. I think I'm gonna have to buy an isotopes hat today. So
you don't have to buy an isotopes hat because one will just show up there. So we're heavy partners with the isotopes, and so that place is basically Power Ford Park. So I'll send you an isotopes hat, and then they have an alternate mascot called the mariachis, which is a big deal to do heritage and stuff. So I'll definitely send you the isotopes and then the mariachis. Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to do that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you absolutely.
I don't want you to think I was asking for an isotopes hat because I didn't know you were a huge sponsor. But my wife's going to be like, "Why don't you buy an isotopes hat on MLB.com or whatever?" I'm like, "Why not?"
They're great partners. We're good sponsors with them, and so absolutely, we'll send it to you.
Excellent.
But looking forward to coming back talking about Facebook and the media plan. What you said is so true. Making it more of a component of your plan versus just and we do this. So absolutely.
Look forward to that chat. Matt Sneed, Director of Marketing and Customer Experience at Power Ford. Thanks for your time, Matt. Great to talk to you. I appreciate it.
Right back at you. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Another great episode filled with lots of information that hopefully you have found helpful. So I appreciate you listening. Lots more episodes and content coming up. You can, of course, find the podcast wherever podcasts are downloaded in all those locations. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to list them all off, but you can find them. And inviting you to follow on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, connect on LinkedIn, all the stuff that podcasters are supposed to say that I never say. Go ahead and do that. Thanks for listening, folks. Have a great one.
Mostly Automotive Marketing with Matt Wilson is brought to you by... Wait, this guy has sponsors? Oh, never mind. This sheet of paper's blank. No sponsors. That makes more sense. For updates, info, future episodes, and more, follow on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and connect on Frackle. You guys made that last one up. That's not even a thing, Frackle. Come on.